with the COVID actually happening since the last couple of years, we've seen massively expanding IT infrastructure increase. So the solutions that the companies actually adapted was widely expanded, and that we've seen a lot of distributed setups. Okay, so where some remote office was done in a very fast manner, and we tend to actually forget something that is important, which is the security, right? So this kind of increasingly speed or high speed change within the environment actually expose us with a lot of problems, right? So it actually invites a lot of issues as well as attacks from those hackers or those malicious contents that they create, right? So those kinds of issues, right, are what we need to resolve and what we need to focus now that this setup is already being widely accepted, right? So we've got those new variants of ransomware, new forms of phishing attempts, right? So these are the things that we should actually try to remediate or address, okay, as we actually improve the security within those new setups. So yeah, so as I mentioned, the threat landscape has also increased, has widened. So now it's not only coming from the internet; it may come from those remote office, remote sites. So new variants of ransomwares was created. More recently, all those vulnerabilities, right, that we've seen has impacted those big companies as well. So last year was a year of ransomware as well as what we call year of vulnerability. So we've seen a lot of widely used applications that are vulnerable to attacks, right? And those vulnerabilities was actually exposed in the wild and was used by attackers to create new forms of attacks. Okay, so of course, as you've seen on these examples that I'm putting in, um, more phishing attempts are created, and it's still more focused onto COVID related issues or topics, right? Yeah. So and then more recently, especially I mean, just an example because I came from Singapore, right? We've seen a lot of new phishing campaigns. So a lot of phone calls from somewhere across the globe, right? That's trying to actually scam people. So we've seen even my phone actually. I don't know, for some reason I'm situated in Philippines, but a lot of Singapore numbers are calling me in with funny numbers intact with it, right? So they are getting more artistic in such a way, or the attackers actually getting more artistic, and they try to do a very specific things into performing their attacks, okay, in order to trick people. So now we go back to the question: how do I keep my business operational while mitigating risk? So this would be some of the questions that your customers, as our valued partners, will be encountering, right? So how can you help me? How can you actually address this problem, this issues, or this topic when which is regarding to the cybersecurity. So how can I make my business operational even if or while we actually reduce this amount of attacks or this amount of problems, right? That my business is exposed to. Okay, so this is what we will try to address. So Our concept is actually what we call boundless cybersecurity. So this is our model in providing the best security for our customers. So it's split into three pillars. Because one is know the unknown. So we need to have a solution which is very intelligent enough to identify known, those already have been um, um, uh, done before, or visible before as a threats or as a malware, and those unknown, those 0 days, those new variants of ransomwares or new variants of malwares, right? So we need to have that solution that is capable of addressing as well as identifying those all those forms of malicious content, right? So with regards to threat intelligence, we all know that Sonicwall has been in the market for the last 30 years. So we know what we talk about with regards to cybersecurity, with regards to protection, with regards to threats, right? So we got vast amount of data storage and intelligence, okay, that we capture all the way from 30 years ago, okay. So we've also had partnerships build up, and as well as our R&D team is really working hard to provide the best protection, okay, that that we can actually develop to address those new forms of attacks, new forms of malwares and threats, okay. And then with regards to addressing the remote setups or the distributed IT environment, right? We do have some traditional as well as new forms of secure mobile access. Okay, so we do have our SMA solution, which is a dedicated SSL VPN appliance. So be it cloud, be it virtual, be it um, physical, we can actually do those forms of deployments. Okay, and then with regards to the next generation form of secure access, we got the SASE based solution, which is a cloud edge. Okay, so which uses WireGuard, which is the new VPN technology, right? So we are actually doing this to provide really the true form of zero trust network access. Okay, so these are available as our point solutions as part of our boundless cybersecurity strategy. Okay, and then the next pillar is, yes, you can identify, but how can you translate it? So with regards to unified visibility and control pillar, um, how you consolidate all the solutions that protects your environment is the key aspect, right? So this Capture Security Center is our consolidated platform where we can control, we can manage, we can view, we can adjust and change all those settings that we put with our with the rest of our products, right? So or with all of our products, perhaps. So with our end-to-end solution from the firewall all the way to the endpoint level, be it on the cloud or on premise, you are guaranteed to be able to log in once and manage all those platforms, all those solutions in a single pane of glass. Okay, so as I mentioned, as part of it is the firewall management. So we do have our central firewall manager, which is, excuse me, which is our network security manager. So it provides the central management as well as the central reporting and analytics for our firewall solution. Okay, so we can now unify the visibility as well as the management and control for all of the products that you will get from us, Sonicwall. Okay, and then lastly, as the last pillar, which is important for businesses, right, is disruptive economics. So disruptive economics is showing you just how efficient it is to work with Sonicwall solutions, how cost effective it is for businesses to adapt and acquire those solutions that we carry, how scalable and how can you actually make your business grow, as well as the security to protect those growing business. So how scalable the solution that we provide is. Okay, so with regards to the solutions that you can get from us, especially for the firewalls as our main topic, it provides you with a low TCO, okay, total cost of ownership. So yes, there will be some investment in upfront, but if you actually summarize the total value, I mean, if you consolidate all the things, the cost in total, right? Or we will still be the most cost effective solution across all the other vendors in the market. Okay, so those are the three pillars that builds our strategy, boundless cybersecurity. Okay, so as I mentioned, we do carry other point solutions such as let me just pull up my laser pointer. So our email solution. So we got um, the cloud app security solution where it protects Office 365 as well as a G Suite and a vast array of cloud applications ranging from Dropbox, Box. Okay, so it can also protect emails, rather the lateral movement of emails in the form of Office 365 using that product. Okay, and then we do have the traditional approach where we have the hosted email security and our email appliances. Okay, that you can deploy virtually, software or hardware based. Okay, and then, as I mentioned earlier, we do have some secure remote access solutions in the forms of SSL VPN, which is the SMA, as well as the Cloud Edge, which is a SASE-based new form, next generation approach using WireGuard. Okay, so as I mentioned, Cloud Apps is protecting those cloud apps applications that you have or the customers have. And then endpoint solution, we do have our cloud-based EDR or endpoint detection and response solution, which is our capture client. Okay, it now interacts with the firewalls that we do carry as our bread and butter. Okay, and then how do we extend those security from the gateway all the way to the access layer? Is we do carry our APs. So soon we will actually launch our Wi-Fi 6 models, and we're currently working with our Wi-Fi 7. Okay, and then the switch. How about the so-called wired access? Okay, so we do carry some switches, layer 2 plus switches. Okay, so that actually builds our end-to-end solution from firewall all the way to the endpoint and cloud. Okay, so it works together. It is actually manageable into single pane of glass using our Capture Security Center, and it helps to protect you or the customers against boundless points of exposure. So those ransomwares, never before seen attacks, phishing, new forms of malwares, right? So those exposure against those threats. And how effective it is. So how can we actually prove to you that the intelligence is actually um, um, capable of protecting against known and unknown threats? So it is because of this technology that we have. So this Capture ATP with RTDMI is the um, um, patented technology from Sonicwall. Okay, so it's a patent awarded technology that provides you with sandboxing capability. It's cloud-based sandboxing. So our Capture ATP is very unique as it actually provides you with not only one type of scanning, but three types of scanning on a hypervisor level, emulation level, and visualization level. So if you will talk about the other vendors in the market, right, they might be using only one or two forms of scanning. So with regards to this, the more scanning you have, the more accurate the detection will be. Okay, and then we couple it with what we have as another patented solution, which is RTDMI, or real-time deep memory inspection. So even before the files are loaded into the OS or to the machine itself, it loads to the memory. So when it gets loaded to the memory, we already inspect it and we already try to see any malicious content, okay, and identify any forms of attacks from within that uh, uh, um, loading of that codes in the memory. Okay. And with regards to this with regards to this capture ATP with RTDMI, our firewalls are able, and even our other solutions are able to actually provide you with two actions. One is to allow the file while we actually inspect it, or you can do the block until verdict action. So that means that it will be much more secured because we don't let it pass through the gateway or to the other forms of security if we are not sure that the file is actually clean and inspected thoroughly, right? So as you can see below, all of our product lines or product solution silos, right, are actually using this capture ATP with RTDMI. So which means that whichever solution you actually use, you are guaranteed to have the same protection across all of those solutions. Okay, so for example, your customer only uses endpoint solution. So they will be powered by this capture ATP with RTDMI. Let's say another customer is using only firewall. So they will still get the same security even though they're just using the firewall. Okay. And it's the same as what the other customer which is using the endpoint. Okay. So we actually standardize this um, advanced threat protection capability across all of our solutions. Okay, so to give you a better understanding on the more layman terms, it's just like you when you go to a doctor, right? To see a doctor, to complain something about aching or about your sickness, right? So initially they will just ask you questions, physically view you, or probably touch you a bit to see what's the problem, right? If they cannot identify the issue, then they will request different forms of tests, be it X-ray or CT scan or MRI, or if not, they will just do a lab test, okay? Or they will request a biopsy, perhaps. So those forms of tests, right, is actually translating to our capture ATP, where we subject the file into different forms of testing in order for us to make sure that the problem is or the detection or the issue is actually accurate, right? Okay, before we provide the medicine, okay, to cure it. Okay, so that's how we can actually translate our capture ATP with RTDMI on a very layman example. So how really good it is. So only Sonicwall have managed to actually get a perfect score of 100% detection without any false positives, zero false positives at all. Okay, and misdetections, zero misdetections by ICSA Labs. So ICSA Labs is a well-trusted, well-known third-party validation company or organization where they test different solutions. And it's not only assessing how good the business is, it's also, they're much more focused into the technology. So they are very techy and they're very technical in terms of testing the solution. So only our capture ATP with RTDMI from Sonicwall managed to get that 100% across all 4 quarters of testing. So as you can see, it detects about 2,578 threats that the ICSA labs actually has used during their testing sequences. Okay, so with the rest of the other vendors, for example, I think Juniper, so they do have 100% as well, but then again they miss a few quarters on getting 100%. So we are the only vendors who have managed to do that. Okay, and it is actually not very simple test. It's a rigorous testing conducted by ICSA for about over 100 days, and submit our solution to different sets of tests as well as samples. Okay, so as you can see here, Q1 to Q4 test, we managed to have 2,578 2,578 detections. All right, so we move on to the main topic. So the main topic is our NSsp. So before I move on to the exact models that we have for our NSsp, I want you to share and appreciate this Gen 7 hardware models that we have. So we've started launching Gen 7 since 2020, before COVID actually started. So we've launched with regards to our desktop models, as well as our NSsp biggest model, which is 15700. Okay, and then across months by months, we've managed to increase the amount of models that we have for our Gen 7 series. So the latest one, which is launched last December 2021, is our NSA 5700, as well as our NSsp 15700 and 11700. So what's actually new, or what's the benefit with these new models? I'm not sure how many of you are actually Sonicwall users already, but if you're familiar with the Gen 6, then this things that I will highlight will be much more beneficial to you. Okay, so in terms of our TZ series, those are designed for small scale deployments, right? So what are new there is the 10G SFP plus ports on our 670 model. Okay, so that's the only desktop model that is actually capable of providing 10G connectivity. Okay, usually we will see 10G connectivity on 1U scale models. Okay, so mid-tier models. Then what else? The increase actually the performance actually increased 3-folds versus our Gen 6 and Gen 6 model, perhaps. And then of course the price to performance ratio is really as our main pillar, right? And as I mentioned earlier, is still being put in place across all of our models. So the low TCO is well guaranteed for our low end models. Okay, and then it's expandable storage. So now you can store more logs. You can actually generate more reports out of the box using the TZ range. Okay. And then we go to the NSA models. The NSA models are enterprise grade, industry validated security models. So usually these are the models that we sent for testing by ICSA labs, by Tolly, right? So what is the new enhancements that we put? So expandable storage, you got high port densities, high speed ports are available from our 4700, 5700, 6700. You got 10G ports there, you got 25G ports there, and then 40G ports. Okay, QSFP plus. So and then major enhancement there is on the threat protection throughput, because we increase significantly, about 2 to 2.5 or 3 times depending on the model, versus competing models. Okay, so the threat protection is the throughput that we take a look, because we look at, because it means that we enabled the native protection out of the box. So those native protections such as AV, application control, and IPS are very important and must be enabled to protect the environment, because those will actually helps to reduce about 80% of the threats that is out in the wild. Okay, 80 to 85%. Okay. All right, then of course you don't forget to activate the capture ATP with RTDMI, which will address the unknown threats, okay, and the new variants and new forms of attacks. And then lastly, which is our focus today, is our NSsp series. Okay, so our NSsp series is designed to actually run multi-instance capability, which is if you're familiar with VDOMs, with the other vendor, right? So that capability allows you to split the firewall into multiple virtual firewalls from within that box. So our multi-instance firewall works the same, even better. Okay, I will explain later on the few next few slides. Then, of course, the high capacity, high density multi-gigabit ports. We have the model 13700, which is capable of providing you with 100 GBE port, 100 GBE ports on a one new scale model. So typically 100 GBE model, 100 GBE ports are usually seen into 2U, 4U, 6U models, okay? Because it's actually resource hungry as well as heat, it attracts heat, right? So, but we are the only vendor that, or maybe not, but we got some models that is capable of running 100 GBE ports on a one new scale model, which is 13700. Okay, so you got 40 GBE, 25 and 10 GBE as well, multiple. Okay, all right. So yeah, so as I mentioned, or even our 10700, 11700 has 100 GBE ports. Okay, so these are the competing models from the other vendors. Okay, so superior threat and SSL performance, it really increased a lot as we change the hardware as well as the software that runs from within those models. Okay, so four times threat and TLS performance increase versus the previous generation of our Sonicwall models. Okay, so TLS 1.3 supported, I think, across all the vendors within the market, right? Supports TLS 1.3 is very important already. Okay, right. So it is actually used as an internet edge or a DC firewall, right? Especially important for remote workers, teleworker setups. So very widely used nowadays. Okay, so these are the models that we propose when we talk about thousands of users that needs to actually connect via VPN, or we got multiple hundreds of sites that needs to connect to a single location like a data center. These are the models that we actually position and propose. Okay, so we got ICSA, NetSec Open, Toli that validated this models as well. Oh, before I forgot, it's actually SD-WAN ready as well. All of our models are SD-WAN ready, so you don't need to pay extra in order for you to use the SD-WAN capability. But of course, let's say there are a lot of components that involves in SD-WAN, such as SD-WAN orchestrator or zero-touch deployment. So those are some of the features within SD-WAN that you will need to actually add on in order for you to use, because you need to connect it to a central location, okay, or central management device in order for you to do it. Okay, so then in a closer look, right? In a closer look, you will see we've got 2510 multi-gigabit ports, QSFP plus. We've got 140 GB QSFP 28 ports here for our 13700. You got very a lot of 1G ports, right? And then you got copper ports as well, and 10G capable with bypass ports. Okay, so these are the things that our NSsp series actually has. Okay, and then when you take a look at the back, you can expand the storage up to 1 terabyte. Okay, SSD. I got 3 fans included already, and then hot swappable power supplies. Okay, so you got redundant power supplies for added peace of mind. Okay, so that they won't, if there's any power interruption. I'm not sure if in Indonesia it's very common, but here in Philippines, when there is some typhoons, right? The companies here are very susceptible to power interruption. So these are very beneficial. These power supplies are very beneficial for the deployment here in Philippines. Okay, so it's 10700. So same thing. We got all those ports I mentioned. Got power supply, dual power supply, and same thing with our 10700. Okay. Yeah, I'll skip this one. Okay, the last one is our 15700. So currently, this is the only model that is capable of running multi-instance firewall. Okay, since it actually launched last 2020, we are actually slowly adapting this multi-instance capability across all of the other NSsp models. So when we take a look at in probably Q2, Q3, Q4, slowly we will enable those NSsp capability with regards to our with the rest of our NSsp model range. Okay, so it's a 2U model, 100 Gbps performance guaranteed on it. So how different it is with the rest of the other NSsp, because it can support virtual instance, multi-instance firewall. Okay, so the reason behind that is what we call the Sonic OS X 7.0. So Sonic OS X 7.0 is the new OS that we run. It's a Linux-based OS that we run within our range of products or firewall products. Okay, so the OS X is actually we've taken down the very plain white blue colored GUI, and we've replaced it with a more next gen look, modern look as a user interface. We've rearranged the management menus. Okay, we've actually distributed it and scattered it so that it will be much more easier, efficiently used by the administrators. Okay, so this actually enhances the um, use first design experience. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Sonicwall, then when you actually jump into this new models, right, using Sonic OS and Sonic OS X 7.0, you'll be easily be able to adapt to it and learn how to navigate through the GUI of this new OS. Okay, so it's API design, so it supports REST API, where you can actually configure whatever you can configure on the GUI can be configured on the via API. So as long as your tool supports REST API, then you'll be able to control this firewall and configure whatever is necessary for you to manage it via API. Okay. Yeah. So with the use of Sonic OS and Sonic OS X 7.0, we've unified all the architecture and the language across all of our solutions and Gen 7 products. So it now makes much more easier to integrate with the rest of our product solutions. Okay, and then from when you jump from model to model, it will be much more easier to do that or to migrate your config, because you just need to export and then import, and the OS itself will be the one responsible in converting all those parameters, right, that you set from the small to the large or large to the small. Okay, so these are just a few other highlights. So I mentioned a few of them already. Maybe I'll just pinpoint a few ones. So the unified policy is one thing that we've changed with Sonic OS X7. So you don't need to, we rather improve better in terms of configuring the firewall rules, because now you can actually do the profiles within the firewall rules. Okay, so the security profiles, application control, web control, or so-called the IPS, right? You can actually do it within the firewall rules. Okay, and then yeah, integration with our NSM will be much more seamless. So our NSM's feature set, like the configuration audit and change management, will be much more beneficial to customers now. Okay, all right, and yeah, so new dashboards, multi-instance. So let's jump in straight away to the multi-instance. Okay, so as I mentioned, with regards to the policy management, we've consolidated into one. So this is just having all the layer 4 access rules, content filtering rules, application rules into one security rule set. Okay, and then those threat profiles is to extend your security rule, and now you can actually configure it within within the firewall rules or within the security rule. Okay, that resides within our NSsp 15700 using Sonic OS X 7.0. So this is how it looks like. So as you can see, when you create a rule, now you can apply and create the policy or the profiles of your protections here, security profiles here. Yeah, so this is the view on how you will configure it. So you got bandwidth, antivirus, threat prevention, botnets there. Okay, so you can configure it on a single security rule. Okay, so with regards to multi instance, right? So what you can see here is the comparison between multi-tenant and multi-instance capabilities. So the multi-tenant shows you that only the control plane and the policy management is segregated to one another. But the data plane, which is controlled by the firmware, shared memory, CPU, as well as interfaces, they are actually bulked into one. So they use the same OS, firmware, memory, CPU, and interfaces. But with regards to policy management, how you will configure your firewall rules, it can be split up into multiple tenants. So this is multi-tenancy capability. So with regards to VDOM, as I mentioned earlier, yes, you are capable of splitting the hardware firewall into different separate virtual firewall. However, for example, that customer uses VDOM, got attacked. One of the instance or one of the tenants was attacked by DDoS, right? As you can see on this example, since it uses the same memory, CPU, and interfaces, and we all know that DDoS actually utilizes and exhausts resources from within the box, specifically attacking memory and CPU. So if one tenant got affected by it, and since it's common data plane as well as those memory, CPU, and interfaces, all the other tenants will be affected. Okay, so one infection, one attack that affects one tenant definitely will affect the rest of the other tenants from within that firewall or from within that hardware appliance. Okay, but when we go to multi-instance, this is the true form of multi-tenancy. Okay, because now we can actually separate the data plane, control plane, even the OS, memory, CPU, and interfaces for each customer or for each tenant. Okay, so when we go back to our example earlier, when someone got attacked, let's say customer got attacked by this DDoS attack, then the other two customers or two tenants will not be affected because only the resources that is allocated and separately attached to this customer will be affected. The rest of the memory and CPUs that we allocate for customer 2 and customer 3 will not be able to be affected. So that's much more better than what a multi-tenant capability actually does. Okay. So yeah, these are just a few other capabilities that multi-instance can provide. So complete tenant isolation, which translates to what I've just mentioned. Yeah, independent software version, configuration management, single tenant failure resistant, which is also what I mentioned. Resource derivation resistant is the DDoS example. You can run HA instances as well. Okay, so all of those are the benefits as well as the advancements that this multi-instance capability has over the legacy multi-tenant capability. Okay, so multi-instance is the next generation of multi-tenancy. So it's the truest form of multi-tenancy. Okay. So yeah, so you got different department with overlapping IP addresses, and you may need complex security policies. So what we will do is split it up, okay, into different departments. Okay, another customer um, needs policy management segregation for different departments, and may need complex and compound security policy. So here we'll actually separate the management as a tenant for each department. Okay, and then lastly, needs policy management, traffic, and compute segregation. So the management for this tenant or for this instance plus the resources must be allocated for this customer. So these are three different requests, three different forms of requirements that you can actually address in the form of this solution. So the VRF and the multi-tenancy can address the first problem that the customer one actually has. Okay, if you want to split only in terms of segregation of network, then VRF as well as a multi-tenancy is capable of doing that. But when you want to segregate the policy management, so that let's say the guy from HR department wants to change something within their policies and it's not applicable to the finance department team, so only multi-tenancy is able to provide that kind of segregation of management, policy management. Okay. Of course, multi-instance is capable of doing that as well. But if they want complete isolation, then only the multi-instance model will be able to actually provide that solution. Okay, because multi-tenancy, we all know that they share the same resources. So the customer three issue won't be resolved by using multi-tenancy. Okay. So in terms of TCO, so as you can see here, you got few models that was shown here from Palo Alto and from FortiGate, right? So when we actually see the threat performance, so as I mentioned, threat performance uses native protection, AV, IPS, as well as application control. When you turn those on, what is shown here is the so-called specs or the threat speed, okay, that you will get from this all models. These are NSsp 12400 and 12800 series, which is Gen 6, and the new NSsp 15700. So it's about almost 80 plus or going 85 Gbps, okay, in terms of threat performance. And then when you compare with the rest of the other vendors, as you can see, Palo Alto smaller high-end model is not even reaching 20 Gbps. Okay? And then the higher tier models of FortiGate, right, their threat protection performance only reaches mid 30 to 40 Gbps, okay? Which is comparable with our old gen model, which is NSsp 12400. So in summary, with regards to our NSsp model, so you can expect higher throughput, higher threat protection throughput as well. Okay, so you will get the multi-instance management with multiple ports. You get the benefits of running separate instances from within the same firewall. You got high-speed ports, high-density ports. Okay, you got unified policy management or administration. It makes much more simpler to manage the policies now. You got superior inspection of TLS traffic, okay, and then the integration within the rest of our solution, okay, within our other siloed products, okay. Just to throw in something about our NSM before I move on. This is essential management, right? So it provides you central control, comprehensive firewall management, reporting analytics, 360 visibility across your entire environment, right? So you can consolidate if you got distributed setups or network. You can consolidate all your firewalls into a single place. And when you do some changes, you just need to apply that template across all those firewalls. So those are just some key features that our NSM is capable of doing zero-touch deployment. You got the same dashboard that you get out of the box, so you don't need to relearn or try to study when you use NSM. You got the device groups, you got the templates as I mentioned, and then you got the commit and deploy and configuration difference, which actually assist you into efficiently doing your jobs or your work within the environment, right? So if they need some audits or regular audits, and as well as to protect any misconfigurations, right? So those commit and deploy as well as configuration difference capability will definitely help the customers. Okay, so this is just zero touch deployment. So very simple. You just need to register and then send over the box to the site, and then a staff without any IT knowledge can be able to actually connect the cables that is needed to power it up, as well as to connect to the internet. And from there, it will automatically report to the cloud, and you will be able to manage it. So it's as simple as that. Then, as I mentioned, with the workflow automation, you can configure and compare the changes. You can assign one guy to do the configuration or prep the configuration in NSM, one guy to approve it, and then one guy to deploy it. So if especially your customer has a very big team and they got those hierarchy access, right? So or those so-called leveled configuration, right? So you can actually do this commit and deploy setup. Okay, then of course when they need to do audit, right? So the configuration difference will assist in terms of comparing what was changed from a year ago, from 1 month ago, from a week ago, or from 1 day ago. So we can actually do that using our configuration difference capability on the NSM. And then lastly, the SD-WAN, as I mentioned, has a lot of components and factors involved to it, right? So one of them is handled by our NSM. So the SD-WAN architect is the SD-WAN orchestrator within the customer's organization, and it can simply deploy SD-WAN using a single pane of glass. Okay. Then analytics is just for you to drill down on all the logs and to see and generate reports, which are important to the customer, okay, in order for them to view and to improve the security from within their organization. Okay. Then lastly, capture threat assessment report. So we generated reports out of the box or through the NSM and provide you some statistics comparing within the industry standard. Okay, so you can select your industry from within the capture threat assessment tool, and then based on the report, they will tell you how good you actually did, or how good the protection that the customer actually have against the rest of the other industry or other companies within the same industry. So yeah, with regards to those that I mentioned, those are the key competitive differentiators: workflow automation, analytics reports, the CTA, the zero-touch deployment, the SD-WAN architecture, or SD-WAN architect. All those are the key competitive differentiators that we have as an advantage comparing to the rest of the other vendors within the market. All right, so now that I mentioned that NSM, right? So with the firewall, so I keep on mentioning about how to protect, what kind of protection, how do we do this, right? But how does the customer would really be protected is if they need to bundle it with some subscription, right? So with regards to our firewall, we do have two bundles. So we got the essential protection and advanced protection. These are only available for Gen 7 models only. So what you will get with essential protection is all of the protection. So from the traditional all the way to the capture ATP with RTDMI sandboxing. So you're rest assured that you are protected for all threats that might be sent or attacked to that customer. So you will get that to the basic bundle that we have, essential protection already. So how is it different with the advanced? The advanced protection or security protection or suite is having the cloud management or the NSM plus the cloud-based reporting 7 days as an add-on or as a so-called as an additional component for that bundle. Okay, so essential, you'll get the protection that the customer will definitely need, and then for the advanced protection suite is including the NSM license. Okay, so if you have or if most of you are actually working with customers existingly using Gen 6, so you just mentioned them how it is important for them to upgrade to Gen 7, to the next Gen 7. So you got higher performance, higher ratio, high capacity, high port density. You got the new Sonic OS X 7.0. You got multi-instance capability. You got TLS 1.3 support. You got REST API capability integration, right? Got the NSM for central management and reporting, and of course the hardware upgrade. Okay, so the components within those new models are really brand new and up to date. Okay, and we offer this in a very low TCO, low cost so-called value. Okay, but they'll get high performance in return. Okay, so that's the value out of upgrading them to the next Gen 7, the new Gen 7 hardwares. I'll let Hartono discuss with you with the Secure Upgrade Plus. So this Secure Upgrade Plus is just a promo or a add-on.
Pro, this one is mainly for the NSA. For NSP, I think we does not need this. But for those who have okay, ini untuk NSA ya Pak ya. Kalau ini NSP kita nggak ada offer ini. Kalau misalnya ada perlu ada yang existing user yang pakai NSA, kita ada ini Secure Upgrade Plus. Jadi kita bisa dapat free 1 year dari subscription-nya untuk existing user ya. Dan ya itulah. Dan kita bisa juga port over semua punya subscription yang ada di Gen 6 sekarang ke Gen 7 kalau kita upgrade. Ya ini ada promotionnya, tapi ini hanya untuk NSA sesuai dengan buat ini dengan TJAT model yang kecil. Kalau ada existing NSA sama TJAT bisa sampaikan ke gua dah. Atau Vicky juga bisa bantu ya Pak Vicky. Okay, you can skip this one bro because we are concentrated on NSP.
All right. Okay. Yep. So feel free to review our. Feel free to visit Gartner Peer Insights to view the customers' reviews. So we've got a very positive rating, 4.7 out of 5 for our firewalls. So please visit this. And of course, we encourage the customers to actually share their insights as well in Gartner Peer Insights. Okay. So now we're up to the end of the webinar. So any questions?
Ada question dalam bahasa Indonesia bisa tanya ya, saya bisa translate. Ada apa? Ya, questions. Ada pertanyaan? Bro Vicky, Bro Brian, can you stop sharing?
Oh, sure.
I just put it some key takeaway. I just give a summary. 4 things. Ada pertanyaan, Pak? Atau ibu-ibu di sini?
Ya, buat teman-teman partner, mungkin kalau ada pertanyaan, mungkin bisa di chat atau dinyalain mic-nya ya. Mumpung lagi ada prinsipalnya sekalian.
Ya, ini key summary-nya ya dalam bahasa Inggris ya. Saya tadi ada lihat ya, ada ya. Ini dalam bahasa Inggris, kalau mau tanya bisa tanya langsung bahasa Inggris. Ini. Jadi saya sudah lihat tadi ini key takeaway ya. Jadi ini Sonicwall ini kita dapat award winningnya ya dalam ATP sama ITP kita sama API kita. Ini ICS Lab, ini kita data Vicky bisa kirim ICS Lab punya report ke mereka, ke partner-partner yang di sini. Jadi kita
Ya,
dapatnya ini 4 straight perfect score ya. Itu 100% detection, ini perfect score, 0 false positifnya, sama kita udah 8 kali di consecutive ICS lab. Kalau ICS lab ini adalah third party punya namanya itu organisasi ya yang untuk testing semua ini, banyak testingnya, ada testing antivirus, ada testing yang lain-lain juga. Jadi ini testingnya dalam ATP.
Pak Hartoni, sorry, lagi share screen atau enggak, Pak? Soalnya enggak.
Soalnya saya nggak bisa share screen, saya ada di grup chatnya.
Oke.
Di grup chatnya. Ini salah satunya key takeaway, ada di grup chatnya itu award winning, artinya juga. Ini ICS Lab. Ada lihat ya grup chatnya, ke grup chat aja. Jadi nggak usah share screen. Jadi udah salah satunya lagi, kita punya cost benefitnya, ini Tolly Reports ya. Ini Tolly Reports ini juga dari third party punya organisasi, ini bukan dari kita ya. Kita ini semua ada di internet, ada juga kita bisa kirim reportnya ini. Jadi cost benefit kita ini kan kita jauh lebih murah dibandingkan dengan FortiGate dengan Palo Alto di dalamnya di sini. Kita ada reportnya. Jadi Tori report ini juga dari third party ya, ini ya, bukan dari Sonicwall ya, sesuai dengan saya bilang lagi. Ini juga. Udah itu salah satunya function kita ini, I think kalau untuk firewall yang gede ya, kita paling terkenal ini FortiGate VDOM-nya, benar nggak? Itu yang paling kita dengar kalau ada. Jadi kita juga ada tadi sesuai dengan yang di-share sama Brian, kita ada multi-instant firewall support-nya. Jadi kita juga ada ini sesuai dengan VDOM. Kalau ada interested yang untuk VDOM, untuk apa, kita bisa lihat, kita bisa diskusi. Soalnya firewall kita NSsp model, which NSsp ya bro, model that can support our multi-instant firewall, bro Brian?
Currently only the 15700.
NSsp
currently,
15 ya.
but within the year we'll enable it for all our NSsp models.
Oke. Jadi ini kalau ada VDOM ini, ada kegunaan VDOM sekarang hanya dalam salah satu model 15.700, tapi kita ada roadmap-nya ini ya, sampai tahun ini, mungkin ya tahun ini kita semua NSsp model kita ini udah ada function yang seperti VDOM, multi instance firewall. Ya. Jadi itu kita punya tadi ada key takeaway-nya. Satu lagi sekarang tadi saya juga ada sharing-nya, Brian, kita punya di ini NSM, centralized management kita. Jadi kalau centralized management kita ini kita ada on-premise ya sekarang ya, dan juga ada cloud-based. Jadi kalau saya nggak tahu gimana di Indonesia, ada punya yang ada sensitif yang tidak boleh ke cloud, kita masih ada on-premise NSM. NSM ini centralized management ya Pak ya, untuk manage firewall-nya, karena di Indonesia kan banyak yang branch-nya. Jadi kita pakai NSM ini untuk manage semua firewall-nya. Dan salah satu features-nya lagi yang paling ada, kita ada full SD-WAN punya features ya. Ini di sini banyak telco. Jadi kalau misalnya ada perlu SD-WAN, yang apa kita juga perlu ada semuanya. Karena kita Sonicwall juga ada produk-produk lain ya. Seperti ada switches ya, ini switchesnya ini biasa kalau orang pakai SD-WAN kita juga harus pakai switchesnya ya. Kita juga ada wireless AP-nya. Tadi kita juga ada wireless cloud endpoint ya. Ini namanya endpoint, ini antivirusnya kita juga ada. Dan salah satu lagi kita yang paling baru ini ada kita cloud app security. Ini untuk protect Office 365 sama Google Mail. Ini semua untuk cloud apps. Jadi ini tadi kita summary-nya ya, takeaway-nya ya Pak ya. Kalau ada ya, saya ada buat tadi ini summary-nya. Kalau ada pertanyaan ya coba bisa tanya lagi ya. Over to you, Vicky.
Ya, untuk rekan-rekan semua, kita sudah masuk Q&A ya sekarang. Jika ada yang ingin ditanyakan, bisa langsung ditanyakan aja nih. Mumpung masih ada kita timnya lengkap ya, jadi bisa lebih detail nih untuk jawabannya. Jadi jika ada yang ditanyakan, bisa langsung ditanyakan aja ya.
Vicky.
Oke, rekan-rekan webinar, apakah ada pertanyaan? Bisa langsung diajukan pertanyaannya ya. Kita masih menunggu untuk pertanyaan yang masuk. Jadi jika ada yang ingin ditanyakan, bisa langsung aja ditanyakan.
Ya, ini untuk lebih interestingnya ya, ini ya. Coba ada yang tanya pertanyaan, ntar kita kasih langsung cash vouchernya. Satu question 50.000 dari Vicky, ntar kasih.
Oke, Pak Hartoni. Nah, semuanya ada pertanyaan nggak nih?
Ini langsung
aja
kasih
direkam
ini.
Pertanyaannya ya.
Ini dari ntar koordinasinya sama Pak Vicky aja deh. Ya.
Oke, baik Pak Tony. Terima kasih.
Halo, selamat sore Pak Tony.
Ya.
Mungkin saya mewakili audiens yang lainnya. Mungkin ada yang mau bertanya kira-kira sama seperti pertanyaan saya yang saya tanyakan ya mungkin.
Oke.
Mungkin saya lebih prefer ke NSM tadi ya, karena kan memang untuk saat ini kita memang lagi prefer rata-rata memang sudah menggunakan untuk SD1 ya.
Ya.
Saya mau nanya mungkin berkaitan mengenai licensing untuk NSM-nya. Kira-kira dia memang dia bisa menghandle berapa perangkat, apakah ada batasan perangkat untuk manage appliance, biasanya entah itu firewall atau switch-nya. Karena kan kita tahu biasanya kalau kita configure SD1 itu biasanya kan kita kan untuk semua log dan lain sebagainya itu biasanya kan termanage di NSM ya. Nah, biasanya apakah ada batasan untuk NSM-nya itu bisa manage sampai berapa perangkat? Karena kan biasanya kalau kita bicara corporate yang besar, biasanya itu kan ada beberapa site gitu kan. Jadi kan dia butuh beberapa perangkat. Belum lagi kalau itu perangkat itu HA. Jadi untuk NSM sendiri itu dari sisi licensing-nya seperti apa, lalu kemudian untuk manage perangkatnya apakah ada batasan, entah itu batasan throughput atau batasan appliance. Mungkin itu sih. Terima kasih.
Oke. Itu kalau NSM kita ini, Bro Brian, can you pull out the NSM, the data sheet, that one that we're putting in? Because they are about NSM.
And you mean on my slide?
Yeah, and do you have any other data sheet? Because I cannot share. Because what they're asking, right? Is there any what are the licensing state for the NSM? Maybe you just pull out so I can explain. Then is there any limitation on NSM? Because what they do is currently there's a lot of these SD-WAN that right, they need to manage centrally. Whereby I think for us we just to get the advance. But you pull up the slide or anything so I can explain in Bahasa. Because for us it's actually FOC. Just need to buy the license. There's two types of NSM. I will explain to them.
Sure. Great.
Okay, thanks. Tunggu ya Pak ya. Saya suruh Brian share dulu NSM. Jadi saya waktu explainnya dia gampang. Ya. I think share the data sheet also can the difference with the NSM.
I will show the one with the presentation.
Yeah, can. No problem ya. Tunggu ya Pak ya. Lagi share, ntar gue lagi explain ke bahasa Indonesia. Ya, so Pak ini kalau NSM kita ada dua ya, kita ada yang essential sama dengan yang advance ya. Jadi semua firewall kita kalau kita yang jual dengan yang essential, ini semua udah ada di dalamnya. Yang perbedaannya aja ini the next slide bro, the difference don't have one. Ya, ini perbedaannya. Kalau kita beli yang essential di sini sudah semua ada itu termasuk NSM-nya. Tapi ini perbedaannya ini kalau yang free, yang essential yang termasuk dengan subscription-nya hanya ada 7 hari datanya dan tidak ada user base analytic-nya. Kalau kita perlu lebih dari 7 hari atau 355 hari untuk reportnya, kita harus beli yang advance. Ini. Jadi kita itu yang kita perlu, NSM advance. Udah itu kalau ini semua untuk cloud ya Pak, kalau ini untuk cloud, kalau misalnya kita mau yang on-premise, kita juga ada jual licensingnya tergantung dengan berapa firewallnya, dengan ya itu nggak ada limitnya, tadi harganya itu tergantung dengan kalian mau manage berapa firewall, itu NSM-nya. Oke?
Berarti berdasarkan dari perangkat firewall yang mau di-manage ya Pak ya untuk Sorry Pak, mau nanya lagi.
Boleh tanya aja ya.
Ini kan untuk reportingnya ini kan ada dash reporting data ya. Bisa 7 days atau 365 hari.
Benar.
Ini apakah dia bisa, maksudnya real time, kalau kita pakai yang 365 hari, data ini bakal selalu tersave selama 365 hari, atau dia bakal bicaranya, apakah akan terhapus selama beberapa waktu, misalkan 1 minggu sekali, data itu akan di-renew lagi gitu. Jadi
ngerti. Oke. Kan, gua coba tanya. Bro, about the 365 days, bro, Brian. The 365 days logs, right? This is based on what? Because there must be a difference. The question is there might be a difference day, right? They enable, they buy a different day on the NSM. So how are we counting on this 365 days? Is it per device?
I mean, NSM license is per device. So it will, let's say you got 2 devices. One ends in February, one ends on March, right? So if both has NSM Advance, and it will count from the end of February and end of March for different devices.
So different device have a different NSM's end date lah, correct? Oke, ya Pak. Berarti kita punya tadi sesuai dengan bilang licensing kita, NSM kita kan sesuai dengan subscription-nya ya. Kalau misalnya kita subscription yang advance, jadi kita sesuai dengan firewall-nya expiry date-nya. Jadi misalnya kalau firewall A, dia activation-nya Januari, dan firewall B activation-nya bulan Februari. Jadi expiry itu lognya itu sesuai dengan firewall A sampai ke Januari, firewall B sampai ke Februari gitu.
Berarti datanya kalau misalkan kita beli selama 1 tahun, berarti data analitik dash reportingnya masih terus tersimpan ya Pak?
Ya, 1 tahun dalam sesuai dengan, berarti kita punya NSM itu sesuai dengan firewall yang kita, atau misalnya firewall A ada NSM-nya advance, jadi berarti firewall A ini 346 hari. Kalau misalnya ya kita simpannya. Oke. Bro Brian, can they export out if they needed this log? Is there any way for them to export out?
Syslog.
Can syslog.
Jadi syslog can also do. If I'm not wrong, some of our customers actually do hybrid. So they have SIEM. So of course they use the NSM as the main tool, and then syslog or SIEM will be the repository.
Ya, jadi ini ada, kalau misalnya untuk NSM-nya, kalau misalnya worried ya, kalau ada takut ini lognya kita bisa diekspor out ke syslog. Kalau kalian ada pakai SIEM, kita juga bisa ekspor ke SIEM. Tapi mainly-nya kalau untuk manajemennya itu kita langsung pakai ke NSM kita ya, 365 hari ya. Oke.
Kalau untuk yang on-prem apakah sama?
On-prem itu perbedaannya itu tidak bundle dengan licensing kita. On-prem itu berarti kita harus beli license, dia tidak termasuk di dalam subscription kita. Berarti kalau perlu on-prem, kita hanya beli essential punya firewall. Kita punya firewall kan minimum essential ya. Jadi itu perbedaannya, kita harus beli lagi licensingnya untuk on-prem. Jadi itu sesuai dengan berapa firewall yang perlu. Bro, on-prem wise is also the same thing. Is because of how is the day? On-prem no need day ya. Oke. Kalau yang on-prem correct, I forgot. On-prem itu kita nggak usah perlu harinya kan? Berarti sesuai dengan data kapasitasnya. Kalau misalnya kalian punya on-prem kan pakai server sendiri. Kalau servernya kalau ada besar, berarti yang kita perlu untuk on-prem itu hanya mau tahu kita bisa manage berapa firewall. Kita bisa mulai dari 5 firewall. Kalau misalnya tambah banyak firewallnya, kita hanya increase aja licensingnya. Jadi sesuai dengan kapasitasnya, dengan berapa lama datanya tergantung dengan hardware-nya, Pak.
Oke.
Jadi,
kalau kalau misalkan kita pakai on-prem misalkan,
ya.
Lalu kapasitas hardware memang di awal kita batasi misalkan 100 giga untuk server on-prem kita untuk NSM ya. Lalu kita ada 5 firewall yang dan itu HA, berarti kan data yang terjadi itu memang hanya 1% ya. Lalu kemudian berdasarkan throughput atau traffic yang inbound outbound-nya berdasarkan data untuk NSM ini ternyata over nih, ternyata lebih dari 100 giga. Apakah dia memberikan notice atau lain sebagainya? Kan kadang tuh ada beberapa perangkat yang dia overload kemudian NSM-nya tiba-tiba mati, kan itu kan kadang kan jadi prefer juga tuh dari sisi kita. Nah, kira-kira apakah dia bakal notice muncul warning atau dia bakal menghapus data sebelumnya seperti apa ya Pak? Thank you.
Okay, bro. For the on-prem NSM, so if let's say it's already so called their capacity, the hard disk capacity already overload, will us automatically override it, or they will send a alert to the administrator? Then they need to do a manual deletion, or how? Yeah.
It's first in, first out. But with regards to alert, I'm not sure. I haven't encountered whether there is an alert that will be sent. Usually for logging system, right? They don't have alerts whenever the hard disk actually is full or not.
Okay, so it's automatically override lah in the sense lah.
Yep.
Okay, Pak, kalau ini sesuai dengan kita log kita, kalau NSM ini ya, kalau on-prem ya, tergantung dengan lognya ya, berapa besar ya. Kalau misalnya hard disknya full, berarti biasanya dia langsung override gitu. Jadi coba saya tanyain seluruh backend, kita bisa kasih alert enggak kalau misalnya hard disk firewall-nya udah full. Bro, can you help me do a take note that if can we do a checking whether when there's a file the log is full, then can we have any alert? Yeah.
I will check.
Yeah. Nah, so by defaultnya ya Pak ya, berarti itu dia langsung override. Tapi coba kita ntar check, kita bisa kasih alert enggak kita enggak override-nya. Ya.
Oke, thank you.
Oke. Jadi kalau untuk on-premise ada dua macam ya, kita punya license yang needed. Salah satunya itu kita pakai syslog untuk berapa firewall kita. Satu lagi itu tergantung dengan kapasitasnya. Mau berapa giga kita punya licensing. Kalau anda perlu ya kita lihat firewall modelnya juga. Untuk on-prem punya NSM. Ya.
Oke Pak, thank you.
Oke. Jadi licensingnya itu saya lihat ya, saya udah lagi lihat nih ya, ada yang tergantung model kita ya, tergantung modelnya. Any other question? Ada lagi pertanyaan lain? Nah, ini juga dilihat nih adanya ini user based analytic, device level and device level semua sesuai dengan device. Dan lagi pula untuk SD-WAN-nya ya kita tidak usah beli, kalau memang perlu untuk enable SD-WAN-nya, kita juga tidak perlu beli licensing-nya. Jadi kalau misalnya kita udah ada subscription-nya tentang essential walaupun advance untuk Gen 7, itu SD-WAN-nya semua udah termasuk di dalam. Jadi tidak perlu untuk beli licensing. Kalau hanya yang perlu NSM-nya itu untuk centralized management, kalau kita beli langsung advance, kita juga kasih free cloud management-nya. Kalau misalnya perlu lebih interesting dengan SD-WAN, kita juga bisa arrange, maybe Vicky bisa arrangein satu ada yang kalau mereka mau ke SD-WAN, kita bisa satu presentasi lebih kurang 30 menit yang tentang untuk SD-WAN. Gimana kita punya SD-WAN dengan apa yang kita bisa lakukan dengan SD-WAN kita. Di mana kita kerjasama dengan produk-produk lain kita seperti switch kita, wireless IP kita, semua di dalamnya ada. Ya.
Oke Pak, baik. Ini mau di sekarang ini atau di sesi berikutnya?
Di sesi berikutnya lah. Ini udah lebih kurang udah waktu setengah jam lebih dari apa dan juga overtake ya. Kalau misalnya mereka ada interested, jadi saya tadi kan ada yang tanya ya, ada interestednya dengan SD-WAN ya.
Ya, jadi buat teman-teman partner ya, kalau ada interest tentang SD-WAN di firewall, nah itu bisa kita adain sesi berikutnya lah nanti ya untuk SD-WAN-nya dengan integrasi dengan solusi-solusi Sonicwall yang lainnya ya, karena kita udah ada kayak switch, terus ada
wireless IP
ya AP juga kayak gitu-gitu.
Dan kita punya endpoint ya, antivirusnya kita ya, capture client itu juga sekarang bagus. Itu kita pakai engine backendnya Sentinel One ya, itu lagi I think top one of the best ya the market. Jadi udah itu kita juga udah integrasi dengan kita punya RTDMI. Jadi kalau misalnya kita pakai capture client kita, ini untuk antivirus kita, berarti kita dapat two world of the best ya. Salah satunya dari Sentinel One engine-nya. Dan salah satunya lagi kita juga ada DMI ini ya, yang tadi kita bilang dapat kita award winning for straight perfect score. Jadi itu kita punya capture client ya, antivirus kita. Jadi ini semua bisa diintegrasi kalau misalnya mau jadi satu solusi ke customer prospect, kita juga bisa bilangin. Jadi kita sudah sekarang bukan jual hanya satu produk doang, kita ada jual semua produk. Jadi kita ada satu solusi rather than only firewall ya.
Ya, atau lebih tepatnya bisa disebut ekosistem lah ya.
Ya, ekosistem ya.
Dari firewall, terus switch sampai ke endpoint juga.
Sesuai dengan kita punya Sonicwall, kita punya paling baru itu namanya Boundless Security ya. Boundless berarti semuanya gitu kita bisa capture ya. Ya, jadi ini perjalanan Sonicwall. Dan salah satu lagi tadi saya baru dapat ya dari kabar dari si namanya. Tadi saya ada send kamu yang WhatsApp-nya ya, Vicky ya.
Iya.
Tentang apa namanya nih? IDC report. Ya, IDC ya. Nggak tahu di Indonesia ada terkenal nggak nih IDC. Kita juga top 5 ya. Firewall di worldwide ya, Sonicwall. Tadi saya baru ada WhatsApp kalau Vicky IDC.
Ya, mungkin nanti bisa saya share juga kali Pak ya.
Ya, boleh.
Kalian materialnya.
Correct. Itu tadi saya apa? So kita juga one of the top 5 in the market. Ya. Ada pertanyaan lagi dari rekan-rekan partner. Ya, ini saya sekarang stationnya di Singapura. Saya nggak bisa ke Jakarta sementara ada waktu COVID ini. Entar kalau udah COVID-nya agak reda, udah bisa travel, saya bakalan ke Jakarta 1 bulan sekali, seminggu di sana. Kalau misalnya ada end user yang kita mau ketemu bersama, boleh sama Vicky arrange sama saya juga. Ya.
Ya, correct.
Ya. Ada lagi pertanyaan-pertanyaan lain? Tadi siapa itu ya, Vicky ya? Ntar itu kita kasih apanya lah, kasih vouchernya. Ntar lu ambil sama gua aja langsung.
Ya. Nanti,
saya langsung. Itu consider satu question, 2 question itu satu ya?
Itu kan satu. Tapi
tadi? Dari mana tuh? Sorry tadi. Dari mana tadi ya? Dari company mana ya yang tanya itu? Oke.
Ya nanti mungkin Dela bantu ituin aja Pak. Bantuin.
Oke. Oke, ada lagi pertanyaan lain?
Ya. Kalau pengen nanya tentang partnership juga ya mungkin boleh, mumpung lagi ada Pak Hartoni nih, country manajernya.
Oke, kalau I think udah lewat waktu ya kita ya. Tadi sebenarnya kita jam 3, udah 1,5 jam nih. Kita mereka 1 jam doang. Jadi udah deh, Vicky, I think mereka kali kalau ada pertanyaan bisa follow up dari email atau ada question, ya Bu Della bisa bantuin antar tanyaan question.
Feedback-nya lah ya.
Ya, lain kali. Oke. Makasih ya semuanya.
Ya, terima kasih Pak Tony sama Brian.
Oke. Bye. Bye.
Ya, oke semuanya. Terima kasih ya
Oke,
Pak Hartoni,
oke,
Pak
thank you.
Aziz untuk webinarnya. Brian, thank
Oke.
you.
Thank you.
Semua rekan-rekan partner siswa semuanya, terima kasih ya sudah
Oke.
join webinar Sonicwall kali ini. Jadi nanti untuk materinya bisa kita share by email dan semoga webinarnya bermanfaat ya. Dan sampai jumpa di next session webinar Sonicwall selanjutnya dan juga produksi sore lainnya. Oke semuanya, terima kasih. Thank you all. Sehat selalu.
Oke, bye.
Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih semuanya.
Bye.